Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Carlos. So welcome, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, dude. So Carlos, can you give us your full type?
I am MF NIFI Sleep Blast Play. Consume last.
And so you're a jumper INTJ and Dave's exact type twin.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, you guys you kind of look similar too.
Yeah, you're actually not the first person to say that. It's pretty funny. Yeah, we do resemble each other a little bit, a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. You don't sound the same. Your voice are completely different, but the appearance is for sure. What did you feel, and what did you think? When you got your results back.
Oh, it was so funny. So I was on an audio call with Shan,
Yeah.
and I had made all my videos and stuff, and um I was staring at my videos and like trying to figure out my type. I'm like, I don't freaking know. So I sent him off to Shan and scheduled a call. And she was laughing because at the beginning of the call, well, after she had typed me, she was like, yeah, David walked in while I was looking at your videos, and he said, hey, have fun talking to me later tonight. So like they typed me in like 5 seconds.
Talking to me later.
Just
That's so
but
good.
it was a blast. Like we were cracking up the whole time. Shan was hilarious, and I was just it was super revelatory and interesting, and like I never expected it, because in the video I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm a freaking IJ, and then of course.
Yeah, of course you are.
So yeah.
Well, why don't we start with that then? When you got diagnosed as an IJ, like what
Diagnosed. It's a
yeah,
symptom. Yeah.
yeah. Like, how did you react to that? Like, did you say, "Oh wow, no, like no wonder I'm having all these problems," like.
It was so Shan did a really good job of just kind of walking me through the steps. And just she kind of took me from the beginning, and like we kind of went through. She really did it really like logically, and it's like, okay, I saw that I was FI, and she's like, yeah, you're right on about the FI, and she's like, okay, so that eliminates some of the board self over tribe, and and then I saw N in myself, but I'd never considered that I was NI. I was just assumed I was NE because I saw myself as very chaotic and unstable. And she's like, well, actually, let's not roll this one out yet. And I was like, okay. And then when we finally got to it, she's like, yeah, NIFI. She had explained. She was like, hey, let me take a guess about how your childhood went. And she was like, your hobbies. Did you like jump into a hobby maybe for a couple years at a time, go absolutely all in on it? And I was like, yes. And so she just it was a lot of fun, very surprising, um and you know I don't know, I don't think there's good and bad types, so it was just it was just not what I was expecting, so
Yeah,
we had a
no,
blast.
yeah, for sure. I think your type's actually one of the more broken ones. It's like overpowered. Like if I if
Broken as in dumb, maybe.
what's that?
I said broken as in dumb and goofy, maybe.
Well, yeah,
It's
dumb and goofy, but like from what they show in their in their classes, it seems like a lot of people of your type do succeed in life, right? So it's like it seems that way. I don't know if that's true for everyone, obviously. But so they said that you tend to get into hobbies for like long periods of time. So what kind of hobbies like have you really have a deep dive in growing up?
so I was all in on music for a while. I took piano lessons, and eventually went to school for music, and now I teach piano. Um, chess is another one. There's your typical INTJ hobby.
Right.
Um, I love it. So yeah,
There's another
yeah,
guy in the class. I don't know if you know Whitney. I think that's his name. And then he also teaches um
yeah. I
music.
talked. Yeah, we talk quite a bit. He hosts a watch party on Tuesday nights. Um, Really interesting guy. Yeah, so he's my type twin, except he's double masculine.
Right, and he teaches music
Really cool
also.
guy.
So or he's into music also. I mean,
Yeah, he teaches piano. We've actually talked about how we set
yeah,
up our studios and stuff. It's really funny. Yeah.
yeah. Did you feel like you were very similar? Except for the fact that he's more pushy with people.
It's funny because he's really not pushy at all. The we are very similar in just like, I was cracking up because we were supposed to have a watch party last night or Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday, he was like, okay, guys, ready for the watch party. And everyone's like, it's Wednesday, dude. Like it was supposed to be the night before. And he's like, oops. I'm like, I would have done the same thing. He's like, I have reminders and everything. What happened? I'm like, oh, story of my life. So yeah.
Is that your SE at the bottom? Is that why that's happening?
Yeah, sensory has been like a huge struggle for me for forever. For forever.
What kind of life problems have you had because of that, like fourth, function?
So school was a big struggle for me, especially being consumed last with sensory at the bottom. Like I remember, so I started going to public school in 6th grade, and like just like sitting there in class and having to sit still and like listen and consume what the teacher's saying, write down the assignment, and then like remember to do the assignment, and making sure I like read and consume all of the instructions correctly. It was an incredible struggle. Like my teachers literally for a couple years in middle school would make me write down my assignment in like the little journal that they give you in public school. She would sign it to make sure I didn't write something down wrong, because I did that like 90% of the time. And then I would have to bring it to my mom and show her, and she would sign it saying that, yes, I actually remembered to like show my parents my assignments, because I would just like stuff would get lost in translation so easily with me. I would just space out and not pay attention. And it's been a giant struggle.
So it's not just the SE, that I guess that would also be the consume that is
Yeah.
getting you in
Yeah,
trouble.
consume at the bottom with Demon SE is not has been interesting.
You said that you were spaced out a lot. You were just in NI land, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But
So yeah.
technically you're an extrovert though, because you have blast and play in the middle, right? So you're like a slight extrovert, like very slight extrovert.
Yeah, so Dave has talked a lot about that, and the other sleep blast play NIFIs really identify more as being extroverts, but I've always felt more introverted, which I guess I should, because masculine FI with sleep, like that, it's appropriate that I would feel that way. But I guess it just kind of depends what you're doing, right? Because like when I'm on my own, I feel like 95% of the time, just me by myself, I'm very introverted. I don't seek out lots of engagement necessarily. But when it comes to something that I really care about, like music or chess or something, I go all in, blaster mode on it, and then I am very extroverted. So I guess when you put the whole spectrum together, if you compare me to like a sleep consumer or something, yes, I'm pretty extroverted, but take that for what you will.
And then you're also like your masculine feminine. So I think they said that if you're like masculine feminine and your type, then you tend to be very goofy when with your people, and you're just like, being silly all the time. And
I may have been accused of that, yes.
so it's kind of funny because I think that would be like very INTJ like, in the old Myers-Briggs world, because then, they're supposed to be like serious all the time, and they're just like,
Oh yeah.
teaching you lessons after lessons. But then here you are, you're like, haha, let's.
Yeah. The sleep blast plays, I think the NIFI sleep blast plays are giant trolls at heart. Like we just can't help it. So yeah, it's very true.
You got into music. Would you say that's directly correlated to your masculine, feminine, sexual modalities? Like being audio, kinesthetic?
You know, I'm not sure. I think it just hit my FI box early on. Like my mother played piano and my grandmother played piano, and we always had a piano in the house. And I found the music really relaxing. I would love it when they would play, and so it's just it really yeah, it was just in my FI box early on. And so because like Whitney's double M. We have some other NIFIs that are double feminine that also play and are musicians. So I'm not necessarily sure if it's an MF thing.
Fair enough. I mean, for Whitney, it makes sense. He would be kinesthetic audio also. But there's definitely people who are not auditory that plays instruments. So I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
Would you say it helps you with having an ear for it, like for beat or like for the tune and whatnot?
So I was actually talking with an FM INTJ about this, and uh, uh, it's funny because I guess I'm an audio, right? But when it comes to learning music, I need to visualize it first.
Oh, okay.
So I'll like picture, if it's a chord chart, in order to memorize something, I'll picture the chord chart or write it out and then have like my mental picture of what I need. And so it's not like as strong of a visual as like the FM, but it's an inherently audio kinesthetic activity, so I guess you can't really help it. So yeah, I don't know though. It's interesting because we have all the modalities play are musicians, and we all learn slightly differently, but there's a lot of overlap there.
On the kinesthetic side of things, do you do anything kinesthetic? Like, are you into going to the gym or playing sports or any of that stuff? Like,
So when I was younger, I loved karate. I did that whole thing. I loved breaking boards and smashing stuff. Absolutely.
oh, nice.
Um, but I never like I enjoy watching like UFC and fighting sports and stuff like that. I did track and cross country and swimming when I was in high school.
Oh, wow. You did a
But
lot.
yeah, a little. I mean, a little bit. Like always something. So like I enjoyed being in shape and stuff and like that. But I never really enjoy working out. Like I do work out 5 times a week, but it's only because I've been getting fat and my metabolism is slowing down,
Right.
and I don't want to die an early death. So
Yeah.
I'm making myself go to the gym. But that's been something new for me as I'm creeping into my mid-30s.
Oh, mid-30s. We're about the same age then, I guess.
Yeah, I'm 30. I'm 33. How old are you?
I'm 37.
37. Okay, still young. Nice.
Yeah, getting there. Transitioning to late 30s soon. But so I know it's kind of funny for me because you said that you just a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, you did a lot. You did karate, like all those sports. So it's not like a little bit. It's totally a lot, But
I guess.
Like you're definitely kinesthetic, like you're doing a lot of kinesthetic stuff. I know people who are not kinesthetic that just like avoids this kind of stuff, right? Okay, so do you feel like it's therapeutic when you do all those like movement stuff?
A little bit, yeah. Like I don't enjoy running per se, or like if I had to choose between like sitting at home and studying a chessboard or something and going running, like I would rather sit at home and study. But when I do run or work out, like it does feel good. It does let me process in a different way. So yeah.
And then you said that you love breaking boards and stuff. So is that like the masculine SE? Like you just like to like throw
Smash
things?
shit. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. For me, when I go to the gym, nothing like annoys me more. Like when people are like lifting weights and they just smash the weights on the floor afterwards, and I'm like, oh shit. Like I don't know if you do that, but
so deadlifting is my favorite thing to do. Like you pick up some really heavy weight and you're like, yeah, and you just drop it. We're like,
oh no, I hate that.
It's so satisfying.
But I guess now like when they talked about the masculine SE, I'm like, oh, it's those guys that's doing the shit, but it's not as bad as the one with like masculine FE also. Like after they do the deadlift and they drop it, they scream after like rah, it's
those guys can be a little scary. You're like, okay, all right, rage monster, good, cool. I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah. So it could be worse. For you just drop the weight. You don't you're not like screaming afterwards. Like. All right. So what about your blast? How are you doing with your blaster lessons or Dave calls you guys, what was it, that blaster douchebags or something like that? Like what are you?
Yeah, 100%. So since becoming aware that I'm one of those blaster douchebags, I guess I'm just trying to hold back all the time and listen to people more or something. I guess is that what normal people do? They listen? No.
That's good. Well, what kind of blaster lessons do you do? Like, do you teach? Like, before I ask you that question, actually, what line of work do you do, by the way?
So my main trade is teaching music and being a musician.
Okay, so I guess you're doing blaster. Like, do you teach group classes or do you teach people one-on-one? Like what?
I do one-on-one. I used to, I have in the past been a music director at various churches. And like, you know, you're in charge of, you know, the main Sunday band or like a youth band or something. So there's plenty of opportunity for controlling the tribe and blasting and teaching, and for sure.
And would you say that you're pretty good at explaining how music works to your students and whatnot?
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about this a few weeks ago. The main thing that I try to teach, and I guess I'm just preaching my saviors, but I try to teach my students how to learn as efficiently as possible. I guess me being consume last, you know, so what do you really need to focus on? What are the habits you need to build? How do you break down a piece of music that you think is too difficult or too much? And I feel like I'm pretty good at explaining those concepts to help my students along.
I think you would have the nicest sounding blast because it's double feminine, so it's very like pleasant sounding, you know.
I guess it would be. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Because you know when you watch Dave's video, he's very like, it's nice to listen to him. You know, it's like, and you know, it's probably because of double feminine blast. It's not very like aggressive. It's just like very like pleasant to listen to. So I guess when you have students and they're listening to you, they're like, oh, it sounds like music. You know, literally. You know, like.
I hope so. I hope so. I've had, you know, you never know. Some of the students are like,
yeah,
man, I wish you would shut up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, in their head, they're thinking. What about your play? You have ST play. How would you do? Like slapstick jokes or?
So my style of humor is to like misrepresent the sensory, I guess, because I, you know, disrespect the sensory and then make fun of the whatever the person is trying to say, I guess. I don't know. I wish I could give an example, but yeah, basically just trolling around and just, I don't know, laughing at stuff. That's not a great explanation.
Do you watch people's like more physical movements and stuff when you're doing play? Because I noticed when Dave and Shan watches you know, when they do their classes, they're always like describing people's like, you know, they're like, oh, look at a stupid shirt, or you know, like Dave likes to rant about this guy called Eben Pagan. I don't know if you know him, but he's the same type as you guys, except he's double masculine. So he's more like a Whitney, I guess. And you know, and he's always like raging about him. He's like, look at a douchebag with his pink shirt, you know, like, like, and that's like, so I don't know if you ever do something like that, like, you know, like.
It sounds like something I would say. Yeah, yeah. Who's the guy coming up for typing? What is it? Angry, sad guru, bad guru.
Oh, I didn't see that in the class. I didn't check, but
he's I'm butchering his name, but yeah, he yeah, I definitely made some observations about. He had a thing about not wearing black, and I was like, really?
So your consume last is SF. That means you have trouble, I guess, consuming things that you enjoy for yourself, like doing things that you actually enjoy, like setting aside time that you enjoy for yourself. Is that true?
I would say no. I would say more the SF. It's just that my consume is very narrow, so it has to be something that I really FI like.
Yeah.
And it has to be SF, like not like dumb or simple, but something that's easy for me to read and consume. Like, so for example, if I'm going to read a book, I'm going to read something like a sci-fi novel that I really like. That's something that I can read quickly and easily. Like for example, I love Lord of the Rings, but I tried reading the Lord of the Rings book, and it was like, I got through one of the books and it was just so much detail and extra, like it's so wordy. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with all of this. Like, I need this to be, it's not accessible for me. So I do a lot of, like, if I need to read now, I do more audiobooks, and it's just trying to make it as easy as possible. So, yeah.
Okay. So you do, I guess that's why you prefer audiobooks, because, you know, the reading thing was a challenge.
I can listen to it on 1.5 speed and maybe catch a third of what the guy's saying and tell myself that I read the thing.
Well, it's not as bad as Ty Lopez. He just skims through it and look for keywords, right? He doesn't really read the book, So it's
I may or may not do that.
okay. You do that already too. All right, fair enough.
If I have to read something like in depth,
Yeah,
like a textbook or something, you
yeah.
bet I'm just like reading, okay, like what's the bare minimum? What do I need to get out of this paragraph, and just skipping through as fast as I can. Yeah, it's hard. It's like trying to push two magnets together on the wrong side. It just can't pay attention. No.
Yeah.
So
So you said that you have a very narrow focus when it comes to consuming. Um, when you consume, it has to be within your FI and NI box, and I'm guessing like you cannot consume.
if I'm going to do it voluntarily for pleasure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like if you have a friend that suggested a book to you, you're like, nope, like it's not gonna work, especially if it's not in your, SI, or sorry, your NI.
Yeah, it takes me a while. So when I was a kid, my dad recommended the Isaac Asimov books. He's like, you would really like these. And it took me like 10 years later, I went back and found them. I'm like, maybe I'll read one. And I ended up really liking them. But it took me a long time to get back to those. So yeah, I'm slow on trusting recommendations.
But it's also funny because you did sleep process that it was a recommendation from your dad. So your dad is in your FI box, right? So he's like, okay, let's, it's not like a complete like book on the shelf that you just grab and you're like, you know what, this looks interesting, I'm gonna go read it. It's more like, okay, I remember my dad saying that, who's in your box already, said that you would like it, and I trust my dad. Okay, fine, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point. That's true.
Yeah. My girlfriend is also an INTJ, right? And she is typed by Dave and Shan as a like a NI-FI.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, except she's a sleep consume play blast. So
oh wow.
So she's a consume machine. Like she's literally just like reading books after books after books after books, like piles of books.
The sleep consumes are to me like the way more intelligent versions of the NIFIs.
But she has trouble like teaching though. She is like shies away from it. So it's not that she's bad at it, she just shies away from it. She's like shy about it. So she's giving me a dirty look right now. She's beside me. But yeah, so I did notice the difference between you guys. I'm like, she's like, but she won't consume anything that's not in her like NI-FI box though. Like it has to be, but it's wider than yours. Like for you, like you said, like for you to read a book, it took you 10 years, right? Like from like but it had to be a recommendation from someone in your FI, your dad. So for her, if it's recommended by a coworker, it's good enough. That's already within her box already. So
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like a little bit wider. Like the box is like, I guess there's like more entry points like for people to come in and like suggest something.
Yeah, it's definitely a more well-developed muscle for her. That makes sense.
Right. Well, the interesting thing though is even though you're consume last and you're SF last, like your job is piano, and I would say piano is on the SF side. So you are doing SF for a living and as your passion and whatnot.
Yes, like you have to be responsible for it. I mean, because you can just play whatever you want. I mean, but if you're doing some crazy like atonal music or something that 0.1% of the population likes, you're gonna limit, your audience a little bit. So yeah, I mean, there's SF involved for sure.
I was driving a few days ago, and I've always felt like the world needs you guys, like the IJs. Like without you guys, like there won't be that stable like music teacher like you, for example. That for example, I've been thinking of playing music for a long time. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. Okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Like I know who the go-to person is or the go-to place. And I think it's like without the IJs, there's no stability for places to go for you to either learn or even for food, right? Like let's say you like cooking or whatever, or you have a restaurant, then I can't go to my favorite restaurant if that restaurant is an EP because that person already quit like after 2 years. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah. So it's good that I think you guys are like an important like part of society. Otherwise, like I'll be sad, man. Like if I can't eat my favorite food because that restaurant already closed because it's some jackass IP EP that just like Just put you.
Yeah, the IPs are jackasses too. Hey, let's not lie to ourselves. It's fine.
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah. But in
Love
a
you,
different,
IPs. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah. It's okay. You can say it because you're also an IP. You're like a part-time IP. You know. Well, since we're on a topic, talk about that. So talk about being like part IP. You know, like do you have like that selfish asshole kind of like thing that they stereotype in the class? I mean, I don't think all IPs are super selfish. That's obviously the extreme example, uh, but there's definitely you guys are definitely more selfish than the non. You know.
I would say being NIFI, just thinking about like my music jobs working with other people. So like when I was a music director, the NIFI combo, I feel like I just have a natural disrespect for anyone else's ideas besides my own. And it's like my idea is clearly the best until proven otherwise. And like that's a tough mentality for me to throw off.
And your
So
and is NF, right? So how do you experience your NF?
okay, so that's a tough question because I was unconscious to it for most of my life until it was pointed out. So I guess I don't know. It's like I'm always wondering, what do I really need to be focusing on? What's really important? What matters? And so that's always kind of running in the back of my head, no matter what I'm doing. It's tough to narrow down because it's such an abstract thing to talk about, you know?
Well, maybe if I put it in a different manner. So Jocko Willing, for example, same function stack as you, just opposite. But and he has sleep loss, which is NF. And he seems to have a mantra that he developed for himself, which is discipline equals freedom, right? So
Okay.
I'm starting to see now that a lot of people with, your function stack, they seem to have some sort of mantra that they live by. So would you say you have a mantra that you live by?
I'm always right. No, I not like in a succinct one-liner,
Okay.
like Jocko, nothing like that. I do have a set of core principles that I abide by. I couldn't necessarily verbalize them, but I guess I have my personal code, and that's yeah. I don't know how to explain it.
I'm very interested by the word that you use, personal code, because I feel like I had an INTJ mentor before, and I think he was also NIFI, and he was obsessed with the personal code thing. So,
Oh, okay, there you go.
this is not the first time I've heard this, and the fact that you brought it up is like, oh, okay, this is something I can connect the patterns, with my NE now. So what can you describe? I know it's difficult, but what kind of personal code do you live by?
So, gosh. I mean, I very much, I guess in a selfish IP kind of way, I very much live life on my terms. Like I haven't really followed the traditional route of 9-to-5 job, do this, save up your money, get married, have, and do the like your standard American template. Like I very much have just always done my own thing on my terms. And I've always been happy to walk away from situations or work situations that don't make me happy. So I'm always putting myself first in a lot of ways. But beyond that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I'm laughing because what you said is exactly what my old coach used to say too. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ! Like you guys.
Oh no.
Yeah, like oh.
Yeah. Whoops. Okay, so maybe it's
you guys have the same code.
Maybe we've locked onto the NIFI thing.
You
Yeah.
guys have the same code. I'm like, geez, like. So I guess the personal code for you guys is like, don't live by traditional means. Be yourself. Find your meaning and and then follow that instead of following what society tells you should go by.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. I've narrowed down your code for all you. Oh my God, that's so crazy that like you guys don't even know each other. Like it's like what the heck? And this. And I think if I watched the other NIFI, they said something along the same lines too. Like not exactly how you said it, but spun in the same direction.
Yeah,
That's
same
so
concept.
that's so interesting. Okay. So what about your FI itself? Do you have any like values that you abide by? So I'll give you an example. I have masculine FI also. So my top 5 values would be, freedom, obviously, because I'm an EP, and then I like growth, courage, authenticity, and honesty. So that would be my 5 core values with my FI. So would you say you have your own 5 core values that you live by?
Maybe not 5. When you said authenticity, that's one that definitely rang with me. But that's a pretty common like IP,
FI thing, yeah.
and FIP kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I might just triple down on the authenticity one for sure.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So talk about being an IJ and being afraid of chaos.
So yeah, like it's funny because I saw myself as very chaotic. Like like school was always a big struggle, and like I saw like everything feels unstable to me. And so I try to be as stable as I can to like counteract that so that I can, help my immediate tribe around me, I suppose. That's weird, but like what is being an IJ? If I look back at my habits, like I've been doing the same thing for a very long time, thinking that I'm living in all this chaos and like, struggling to get along, and really, I've lived in the same house for like 15 years now. And I've been doing the same. I've been playing music for nearly my whole life. I've been playing chess for nearly my whole life. So it's just, it's a lot of the same. I guess I lie to myself and tell myself it's not, but it's just a lot of the same.
Yeah. I can never do what you're doing, so it's definitely you guys that do that stuff. You said you've lived in your house for 15 years now, right?
Yep.
I've probably already moved like 6 times since, like, so.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
In different cities, not just like the same, not just, I didn't just move, I moved to different cities, different like countries, yeah. So it's definitely a lot of channel changing compared to you. It's more like stable and,
Yeah, it's I always laugh because I grew up in kind of a smaller town here in Southeast Texas, and everyone's like, I hate this city. I want to move to a different place. And in my mind, I'm like, what's the difference? They're all the same. Like, yeah, okay, one place is going to be a little colder or warmer or something. Might be a different building or some different food trucks or something. But I mean, come on, it's the same people. What's the difference, man? You may as well just stay here.
oh geez. Okay. Oh, that's
how IJ can I be, right?
I know, that's so IJ, man. So I took a year off to go backpacking around the world. So I've been to 89 countries, and
that's so cool.
Yeah. It was the best time of my life. But I remember I went to Colombia, and I was working in a hostel, well, doing volunteer work in this hostel. I had a weird job. It was like I had to translate from Spanish to English, and I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know.
It might be a little difficult. Yeah.
yeah. And I think the reason why they like accepted me as a volunteer was because they had a Thai restaurant in the place, and I'm Asian, so I legitimized the Thai restaurant. Yeah, I'll take it. I call it positive racism. I'll take it.
I guess we take that.
yeah. I didn't take offense to it. The owner really liked me, and I got along with him really well. Anyways, so I met like some Americans that stayed in a hostel, and one of them was clearly an IJ. Because every time I would tell him like one of my stories, and he would like just have a shocked look on his face, right? Like I told him I was like with a smuggler in the Amazon rainforest. I got stranded in the middle of the Amazon rainforest with a smuggler. And
Holy crap!
I got 2
with a smuggler, like Han Solo. Like, what was he smuggling?
He was smuggling alcohol. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was crossing from Brazil to a country called Guyana, and there was like this minivan that said that they can take us to the capital city, but there's no roads here, right? So you're literally driving on like mud and dirt in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, and yeah, and then he was doing something sketchy. There was like a river in the middle, and we had to take a ferry across. And then once we crossed the ferry, there was like, I don't know why, in the middle of nowhere, there's like an Indian restaurant. I don't know why. In the middle of the jungle, there's like an Indian restaurant.
Okay.
I don't explain. I'm trying to figure it or understand it. So we're waiting in this Indian restaurant, and he's in the river, like hauling something from the river, and it turns out it was like alcohol that he loaded on top of the van. And I was like, what the fuck is that, you know? And then after like when we finally got going, there was like a military checkpoint in the middle of the jungle, and then they asked him, like, what is that on the roof? You know, they spoke English in this country, like a Creole English, and then he's like, oh, it's nothing. And I'm like, what is? And then they open it, it's alcohol. I'm like, what a fucking stupid smuggler! Why would you put your
on top of the van?
Yeah, why would you put that on top of the van if you're smuggling? Shouldn't you hide it? Are you stupid? Like it's right, it's like obvious. It's like right there. What a dumbass like smuggler. And then they confiscate the van, and now I'm stranded in the middle of the jungle at 2 a.m. You know,
my gosh.
I'm getting bitten by mosquitoes that, like, when they bite you, they lay an egg in your skin. And if you don't scratch off that bite, the eggs will hatch, and then you'll have, you know, so you have to scratch it off, right? And then if you scratch it, you have an open gaping wound for a while. Like I had an open wound here for like a week because I scratched it off, right?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's chaos, man. I live in a chaotic, you know, world.
Holy moly! I can't believe you got in the van in the first place. Like that's like rule number 1. You don't get into the van.
Well, I needed a way to get to the city, and it was a company though. They actually had like a transportation company, so it's not like it was like a random van. It was a company. It just turned out that their driver was a smuggler because he said he doesn't make enough money. So, you know, like he told me he had like, I don't know, he told me he had like 8 kids and he need to, like, you know, feed them. And I'm like, think to myself, like, why did you have 8 kids to begin with, you know? But anyways, obviously he didn't think that through. That's why he got in this situation. But yeah, man, like I had to wait till the next morning for I had to wait till 8:30 a.m. the next morning for like a pickup truck to come by, and like I had to beg him to take me to the city, and we had to like, me and the other passengers had to like, we got squished in this like one pickup truck, and I had to share like a 1-seater with a big black guy. So like,
oh my gosh,
and one of my leg was like up the whole time because there's not enough space, right? So for the whole like 8-hour ride to the city, my right leg was up over the gear, and like my back hurt like really bad, and yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh.
It was one of the worst nightmare I've ever experienced. It was like horrific.
That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. So, you know, like, you know, typical life on EP, obviously. But like, so yeah, in a hostel, I would tell this guy stories. Like, this is just one story. I've been in some stories like that similar to that. But like, so I told an IJ in the hostel about this, and he was just shocked, kind of like your reaction right now, like just absolutely blown away. Like you can't look away, right? So but like,
it's a cool story. It's a really cool story. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, he kind of has the same story as you. You know, he lives in Texas. He's never left his town. He was 55, got his first passport at 55, and left the country for the first time at the age of 55 to travel. Finally, his friends have been bugging him to travel, like, you know, for his whole life. He finally pulled the trigger at 55, and
okay, good for him. Good for him.
And the first thing he said is like, "Oh my God, why did I do this sooner? This is like the best thing I've ever done." You know? So like, I know I went the long-winded route, but when you said all the cities are the same, no, dude, there's definitely gold at the other side, and
oh man,
and you probably won't see it until you're 55, and that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is, and I think that the IJ life cycle, you guys don't get off your box until you're older. You know, like.
Well, so I did. So I spent about 6 months after high school living. So I bought this house and then and then 6 months I spent in Mexico studying Spanish, and I have done some travel.
Oh, sweet.
But after all that, I was like, nah, you know, I'm good. That's plenty.
Well, how was
but
it?
Traveling is enjoyable. So
you liked it when you went to Mexico and studied
Spanish? Oh yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not shitting on you. I'm just saying that, you know.
Oh no, you're fine.
Yeah, I just noticed that, like, because I did notice, like, when I meet IJs and they start traveling when they're older, they just absolutely love it. Like I there's I know another IJ who's like trying to collect every single country in the world now, you know, and I do think the person who visited every single country in the world, the youngest person, is an IJ. So I do see some IJs doing like extreme shit, like like extreme E people.
Yeah, peacocking. Who's that NITI guy that Casey Neistat?
Yeah.
You do see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you guys.
Have you ever thought about going to the same coffee shop at the same time 7 days in a row? You might find it absolutely exhilarating.
Well, dude, like I do that though. Like,
oh, you do? Okay.
Not coffee shop, but like I'll give you an example. When I was in Colombia, I went to the exact same restaurant for 2 weeks straight, and I loved it.
Nice.
Yeah, okay. I loved it. Or like here in Canada, I eat in the same place all the time. I don't like I do try new restaurants, but I think it's because I have SI. So SI is like I like the same physical things.
Oh, interesting.
Like,
okay.
I noticed with you guys with SE, like for exercises, you like a variety of movements.
Yes.
Because otherwise you get bored. But for me, like with SI, I don't like it. I like to do the exact same exercise over and over again.
Now, when you go to a restaurant, do you like to try? So like I like to eventually try the entire menu. Like it'll be the same restaurant in my box, but I will like try everything eventually. Or do you like find the one thing you like and then you have your go-to?
Usually in a restaurant, there's like 2 or 3 items that I like out of like the 40, and then I'll eat those.
So
yeah, and then I'll usually eat my favorite like 90% of the time, and then the other 2 is like if I go to the restaurant twice in the same week, then I might try the other one.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'm not curious to try the other food in the menu. Like there's no curiosity. Like my girlfriend with SE, she's like a foodie. She wants to try everything, right? Like when we travel, that's the first thing she wants. I want to try different food from different countries, right? So I did notice that, like, you know, with you guys with SE, like try different food, try different things, you know, like just different movements, different exercise. You know, there's like a variety of sensory sources. Well, for me, it's like, nope, same sensory sources, exact same sensory sources, you know.
Interesting. I never considered that. Yeah, I would have guessed that you like to try all the different things. So
I don't even want to, like, even with sports, I don't want to try other sports. Like it's the sport that I like to play. Like I like to play basketball and tennis, and that's it. Like I don't want to go play soccer or football or whatever. I don't want to try it. I'm not curious, you know. Like
yeah, I got you.
But you're more likely to try like a different sport, you know.
I have, yeah. Like I enjoy basketball. I enjoy tennis. There's a few that I don't like, but yeah, I'm more open to whatever.
So the SE for you will try different movements, and then and then your FI locks into the one that you enjoy. I guess that's how consume works. I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, that's consumed in a nutshell. Talk about being a double decider. Like, how do you experience being a double decider?
I see it more as being a single observer that's been stuck doing the same thing for a long time. No, I don't know. I mean, because I feel like everybody has people problems. So I had typed myself as a single decider, you know, before I got shaved, because I have people problems just like anybody else.
Right.
You know, so it's hard to say. You know, I guess I try to see other people's perspectives and okay, how would if I feel about that if somebody did this to me? And you try to work with the tribe and okay, I love this idea, but is it good for anybody else? You know, and just
because technically, I mean, even though you're sleep first, you're double activated with a TE, right? So like you are pretty much like the super double decider in a way, you know, and your TE is also feminine, right? So you're
yeah, I guess, but also I guess so. But
I mean, it's gonna be hard to reach you, but once people do reach you, you're super like flexible with them and you're chill, you know, because it's
yeah.
I
gotta go plug in my laptop. I'm listening. I forgot to plug it in earlier and it's about to die.
Oh, you have SE problems in the middle of the interview.
SE problems. Yep.
You can't make this shit up. Okay,
I made it. We're good.
Yeah, when I interview single observers, there's always some kind of thing problem during the interview. You can't make this shit up, man. It's all so good.
So listen, we all joke about printers and stuff, but printers are the bane of my goddamn existence. I hate those stupid machines. Like, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. They're freaking evil.
I was watching my coach's video a few days ago. Like my old coach, I don't coach with him anymore, and he moved to a different country, and the first thing he did was make a video on his printer. He's screaming at the printer, and I was like, "You can't
Oh
make
man.
you can't make this shit up. Like, you guys do hate your printers, you IJs, like INTJs, the printers. Like, you know the old Myers-Briggs term. You guys are like the mastermind. I'm like, the like your weakness is the printer. If you want to destroy this mastermind,
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. We'll never get our pamphlets out to control the world. Yeah.
yeah, it's so funny. Um, Benjamin had a theory that oh, you have a cat. That
Yeah, this is Jin, by the way. He's old and useless, and he just begs for food a lot. So yeah.
his name is
Anyways,
Jim.
Jin, like the alcoholic drink, like gin and
Oh,
tonic.
oh, he's an alcoholic beverage. Okay. Uh, he looks like Garfield.
He acts like Garfield.
So Benjamin had a theory that if your first animal is technically like a decider animal, then you're going to be more decider-ish as a person. So, sleep and play is like, sleep is more like an IP, while play is more like an EJ, and then consume would be an EP, while blast is more like an IJ, right? So,
Yeah.
I think when you said that you have a lot of decider problems, it may be because you are sleep first. Because I can relate to what you said.
Absolutely.
Because I'm play first, so I do have a lot
Yeah.
of people problems. I'm not stuck in them because they do eventually get resolved, but
Yeah.
because I'm still a double decider. But so has your experience been like that? Like, you do have people problems, but they do get resolved eventually?
Yeah. I think Dave has talked about like that double deciders don't necessarily see the tribe as scary. Like,
Right.
I'm always, if somebody's mad at me or something, like it's not necessarily the end of the world. I'm like, okay, well, for me, it's like, well, I wonder why they're mad. Let's figure this out. If I only knew why they were mad, the missing information, I'm sure we can, it's not a big deal. And then from there, it's, you just kind of work through whatever. But you kind of like expect conflict to happen, but you're not afraid of it.
Do you have any example when you had like a people problem, and how did you resolve it?
I may or may not have told my boss that his idea was stupid, and he was like, "Your idea is stupid," and we're just like, "Well, okay, let's figure this out. This is what I'm trying to accomplish," and we just kind of go through. We kind of went through, our goals for the service or the day or whatever, and
Right.
And we were able to work it out. We were both really mad because we were talking past each other. He's a double MSITE, I suspected. So there's a lot of, we're very much opposite in a lot of ways. But yeah, we were able to work it out just fine, so he had his things that he wanted to accomplish and I had my things. So as long as his silly ST stuff fit inside my NI plan, everything was going to be beautiful. I mean, we worked it out just fine.
I guess because you're both double deciders, so you managed to fix it.
Yeah.
Have you had an actual issue with an actual decider though? Because that would be more crazy.
Yeah. So I eventually left my last job with that same boss because they hired a young girl who's some kind of sleep IP. And she was very difficult for me to work with. And ultimately, like, we were friends outside of work, but ultimately she would just lock down and I was not able to resolve the issues. Like, it got to the point where I felt like I was not in control of what I was doing anymore.
Yeah.
What I was responsible for, like the music. And I was like, I'm out. Sorry. So yeah, there have been times, where I was not able to resolve the issues, but it happens.
Because you're self-above tribe, and then you're dealing with someone that's even more self-above tribe than you, and then you're like, oh Jesus, like it's like
We're not budging. So yeah.
Well, I mean, she wasn't even willing to cooperate with you, which is, because she's not, with the IP has trouble with working with other people, right? Because you're a double decider and double activated TE, so you can cooperate. You can kind of manipulate the other person to.
In theory, yeah. In theory, we try to.
Yeah. How do you experience your masculine, your feminine TE? Sorry, like, do you feel like you're very submissive to the tribe, or at least pretend you are?
It's definitely like 100% an act when I'm being nice to people and I'm like, hey, will this work for you? And I'm like, it better freaking work for you. And but yeah, I am very feminine with the tribe. It's actually really funny because I have like a naturally high pitched voice.
Yeah.
And like I'm not super masculine, and a lot of like my mannerisms, like my posture is generally a little more closed off and stuff, and I'm just kind of lost in thought.
Right.
So like most people find me like pretty feminine, and actually a lot of guys assume that I'm gay, which is hilarious to me. But like even when I go in a drive-through and I'm like trying to be polite, if I don't like consciously lower my voice, like I get referred to as yes ma'am here in Texas, which is absolutely hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But
That's so
yeah,
cool.
I'm so you know it is what it is. Yeah, I feel like I'm very gentle with the tribe.
Are you married, by the way?
I'm not married. I was engaged once, and now I am single. So,
Oh, okay. I guess didn't work. What kind of type do you think you typically date? Are they usually EPs?
you know, I don't think I've ever dated an EP. I've found, like, thinking on past relationships, most of them have been IPs
Oh,
that decided that they really liked me, and then they came and found me. Um, and
oh.
that's kind of how it's gone. So a lot of ISFPs. Yeah.
Are you sure they're not an EJ like a Shan or something?
Now listen, Shan is the dream. Shan is the absolute dream. But there's those ENTJs are tough to find. So yeah.
Really? There's so many of them. I think it's because of where you are, you know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But I do I really like other pretty much anybody on my axis, that shares the same set of functions. I find I get along with really well.
Right.
So any type of ENTJ or INTJ, I feel like there's a lot of commonality there, and so like
ESFP,
yeah,
ESFP.
ESFPs are so fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, that's interesting that you don't think you've ever dated an actual EP. That's it. Because it's usually just like automatic. Like I was shocked when I learned my girlfriend was an INTJ. I was like, what the hell? How did this happen? Like, that's a stereotype, right? Like ENFP and INTJ are together. And it actually happened to me. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Like,
There's that natural attraction. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, no, I didn't think she was an INTJ. I thought she was something else. And then I was like, what the hell? She's an INTJ. I was like, oh, we're all just like stereotypes, you know? It's just like, all right, dude. So I have a few more questions and we'll wrap up the interview. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Um, so let me think here. So you have masculine, feminine, and I. Do you feel like you tend to forget the concepts that you've learned, or that you put in the NI box? Do you feel like it kind of like flies away sometimes, and then you forgot about it?
Uh no, I really don't think so. I feel like I shoved pretty hard on my on my NI, even though it's feminine.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's a strong part of, I guess, my identity and how I think and stuff. So it's always rolling somehow.
Okay. I'm just wondering because Dave said in one of his videos before that he always forgets like the concepts that he's learned, and then if someone brings it up again, he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. How did I forget about that?" And then so there's like a recurring pattern that he's like forgetting concepts that he's already learned, unless obviously he reworks it all the time. But uh, you know, so I just
Yeah, I
thought,
don't know. I'll have to think about that one and maybe see if I can catch myself doing that a few times. So it's weird because NI is so it's just not something that you're aware of. It's so weird. Um, so
and
yeah, I don't know.
because you're a double decider or single observer, you have problems with fear. So what is that fear that you have a problem with? Like, what is that fear that kind of like is your constant companion?
So for me, it's like, it's always wondering what is my path in life going to be. So like when I was a kid, like in second grade, they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean? I have to be something when I grow up? What am I going to do? And I have like this crisis about, "Well, how am I supposed to know that? Like, how does anybody know that? What am I doing? You know?
Yeah.
And so, and even in my typing video to Shan, like my core fear is like, I very much want a family and have kids and stuff like that. But like, I feel like I'm so unstable naturally that I'm not able to handle whatever may happen, whether it be financially or some crisis or something like. So I guess I'm always afraid that the NI life that I want, the NI vision of what I want my life to be is something that is always kind of under attack, I guess. So that's my core fear, I suppose.
I guess that's why you would have to find a Shan, because they'll just go along.
Yeah, just
with your plan.
slap me out of it.
Well, no, but they'll just go along with your NI plan because they don't want to do that, right? They're like, they don't want to do the NI-FI stuff, so they outsource it to you, right? And it's perfect for them because they'll be happy, and then you'll be happy, and it's like, best of both worlds,
Yeah, that would be the dream. That'd be nice.
So yeah, so I guess we could say Carlos is putting feelers out there. If there's any Shan-like person.
Hey, no.
Yeah. This is so dude, last two questions and we'll wrap up the interview. First
Sure.
one is what do you think you should do to better improve on that SF consume of yours? Like, how do you prevent chaos from happening, and how do you accept chaos and just accept that it's part of life and it's not going to go away, and make it your companion instead of your enemy, I guess you could say.
Well, so that fear of chaos is just it's always there. But just because you feel something, it doesn't mean that it has to affect the way you live or how you go about your life. And so as I've gotten older, no matter what, you're going to get hit with chaos, things happening, people get sick or whatever. Like, I've had some health problems earlier this year that popped up, and it's to be expected. But you kind of figure out that it's not the end of the world if some random SE chaos shows up or the printer breaks or something. It's really not that big of a deal. And you're going to be okay. Like, you can work through it. And then, as far as the consuming, just honestly, Ty Lopez has been a big, he's helped me out a lot with that. So like, he sucks at consuming, but he does enough to get what he needs.
Right.
And so he at least respects it enough to make his business work and to be able to blast more.
Right.
So I think it's really cool that the INTJs with NI at the top, we're supposedly we're so deep and thoughtful and mastermindish and stuff, but I think the real trick is that I think is cool about our type, at least we can read some silly SF thing and then like pull a life lesson out of it or something. So
yeah,
I don't know. You do what you need to. That's it.
When I think about you guys now, the INTJs, I always think of you like riding a skateboard and then someone putting a stick right in front of you to trip you up. Like that's how I think with that NI. Because
that's our EP friend. Thanks for that. Thanks, Kendrick.
Yeah.
It'll be you who do that.
Yeah, I'll be like, haha. And I'll take you to the jungle with the smugglers. I'm just kidding. I have to make it. All right, dude. Last question is: do you have any question for me? Before we wrap this up.
No. Fire away. I'm good.
No, do you have any questions for me? I mean, before we wrap this up. About anything, about like functions or my type or anything in general.
Oh, put me on the spot. No, no, nothing off. I'm sure I'll come up with something in like 10 minutes and be like, oh crap, I should have asked that. But no, I'll just blast away and message you. No worries.
All right, no worries, dude. All right, thanks again for coming out, Carlos. Appreciate the interview, and take care, man.
All right, have a good one. Thank you.